A very warm welcome to all of the students who are reviewing this course on object-oriented programming using Java. Here in this lecture, we will provide you the basic concepts of Java or introduction to Java programming. Here we can see this course need a few reference material, that is books. The first one is the complete reference Java to 10th edition. There is a very good book on programming with Java. The title is called Complete Reference. As on today, 10th edition is available and it is published from the Tata McGraw Hill's Indian edition. In the addition to this, there is one another book that is Object Oriented Programming with C++ and Java by Devasis Samanta, and it is published by Penstein Hall of India. The second book is very useful for the beginners because it is written in a very simple and easy to way so that you can understand as quick as possible. Other than these two books, I will advise you to look up to the web page of the Tata McGraw Hills company so that you can go through, in addition to the code, also some explanation that is provided and frequently asked questions. And so it is very good to link to see the link of the object oriented programming using Java, the complete reference book. Now let us come to the concept of Java programming. Just to give a brief history of Java language. Brief history of Java language. Uh, so Java programming is now little bit matured. Maybe say I can say 23 years old or so. But the first time it was introduced in 1991. There is a team. They are called the Green Team. Green Team from the Sun Microsystem Lab. Sun Microsystem Lab is a very famous for developing hardware as well as software, and they have many contributions in the field of information technology. Now, from this green team, the pioneer is James Gosling and his colleagues Mike Sheridan and Patrick Norton. They first time introduced the concept of object-oriented programming, and they give the name of the programming has called green top, as it is from the green team, so they called it as green top. And this then Java initially was designed for a small embedded system and is suitable for many electronic appliances like a like for set of boxes and all other embedded appliances used Java. But it was too advanced technology for the digital cable television industry at that time, in fact. So later on they developed a more improved version of concept and they given the name called O. And this is basically under a green project proposed by the green team. And then later the same concept has been included in a very famous giant in software industry called the Netscape. You have also learned about the browser called a Netscape Navigator. Netscape is basically very famous for networking, network related programming, so they adapted this oak technology in their own work. Later on, the oak actually they gave initially the name oak because oak is a very famous and is basically nationality in many European countries like Canada, USA, UK, and Germany. So they later on was searching that the name should be very suitable as the programming favor it is. In fact, they have an idea about this programming really is very cool, lively, dynamic, revolutionary, and easy to spell and fun to say. So they were searching many names replacing for the named Oak. Then in 1995, Oak was renamed as Java. Then in 1995, the Gosling introduced the named Java. In fact, Java is an island of Indonesia where best coffee of the world is produced. So here we can see the coffee cup as a symbol for Java. In fact, Java is an island of Indonesia where best coffee of the world is produced. In fact, Gosling was very fond of coffee. That is why he chose the name Java for this programming setup. In fact, Java is so popular that in 1995, the Time magazine awarded the Java as one of the best products. And then, with this popularity, in 1996, this is the Sun Microsystem first time to introduce a full set of programming environment. They called it as the JDK, that is called the Java Development Kit 1.0 edition. Java Development Kit, it was released in January 23, 1996. So this gives you a brief history of the Java and why the name of the programming is Java. So we have seen first the Java is named as O and then it is renamed as Java, and initially it is named as Greenstock. Now, the developer in fact claim that the Java is very simple programming language, very simple programming language. It is portable, that means you may use it in any environment. You may use it in any environment, and it is very secure. It is very secure and it is high performed, the multi-threaded and interpreted this one, and platform independent. These are the features of Java: platform independent, dynamic, and architectural neutrality. And finally it is object oriented and robust. So basically these are the different what is called as the features, or you can say the features of Java, and you can say the parameters or specifications that Java programming has its. And this is a really a unique programming environment. That is why it is the best programming language so far in the fact. In fact, so far the popularity score is concerned, here is the graph. This one is the graph. Most in demand languages. I have given you can see the graph here, and in this graph we can see the score. Here given the scores, that is for Java 26,200 and JavaScript. In the graph we can see the score that the different programming languages has so for the popularities are concerned. And as you can see, out of any programming language, Java stands on the top. Java has the highest popularity score compared to any other programming language. There are similar programming language for object-oriented programming like C++, C Sharp, whatever it is, but Java has one own unique language. In fact, Java has consistently been more popular than any other programming language. And I have listed here around the year, and so we can say that Java has worldwide popularity. Java is really very good for parallel and distributed development. This is parallel and distributed development. And basically, the Java is a basic programming environment suitable for Android-based mobile platform, and you know Android programming is now increasing its demand because of the huge development of mobile communication and mobile technology and platform independence. We will discuss in details about how is Java platform independent. That means it can run in any machine. That this is a platform independence. So it means it can run in any machine, in any software, in any operating system, and then more precisely, Java is very much reliable. This is reliability, speed, and performance. Reliability, speed, and performance, it can run in any machine, any software. That is our platform independence. Java is very much reliable and high speed, and then very good and accurate programming environment. Reliable means it can easy to use. Now, now we can see how is Java unique. This is why Java is now very popular. Now, I will just discuss about how Java is different from the other programming environments. Now we can see the von Neumann architecture of computing. In any programming environment, we know the concept that is used is that it is basically take an input and then produce an output. In order to do these things, it basically use an architecture, and that architecture is popularly known as von Neumann architecture of computing. In this von Neumann architecture, the program is loaded into the memory. This is your memory, and then from this program is then executed by the CPU. This is central processing unit. It is called the control unit as well as the arithmetic and logic unit. This is basically mainly for the this part is basically for the execution. So this is the architecture that is used. So it is not a new thing. So this is an old known thing, and starting from the inception of computer, this is the architecture the von Neumann is being followed. So basically the idea about the programming is that we can handle different types of input, and also we should produce output, suitable output from different types of input that a program should take care. And then the output also the program should produce, and we know that we can get output through a speaker, through a display device, or through a printer. And now in order to have a different kind of flavor, that means to deal with the different input and then the different output using the conventional programming or whatever the programming, and what are the different practices are available. So I just want to quickly give a brief overview of the different programming practices, or we can say the programming languages. So programming is of three types actually. The first is called the program. The first is called the program whenever it is written in a machine level. Whenever it is written in a machine level, so it is shown in the machine level programming. And then the program can be written in assembly level, and the program can be written in the high level language. So machine language actually the code, if you see, it is stored in the language in the binary terms 1 and 0s, whereas the program, if you write in an assembly language, it is in the form of some new mini codes, or we can say the mnemonics, like add, move, subtract, like this, add xy, move za. So these are the basically codes for different programming operations. And the third generation language, or it is called the high level programming language, is basically more or similar to English, like we can use the C language. So definitely the third high level programming language is most suitable for many programmers, because it is easy to write their own program, in contrast to the machine level and then assembly level. Now if you write a program in assembly language, then it is does not require to do any more processing in it, will straight away can run your program. However, if you write a program in assembly language, then we need to translate this program into machine level language, and there is a program, this is called the assembler, which convert your assembly language program to a machine language assembler. On the other hand, high level programming language also need to be translated into the machine level language. These are high level languages which for this translation there are two modules available. One is called the compiler, and the another is called the interpreter. So compiler will translate the entire program at one go and produce the machine level code, whereas interpreter will run one statement at a time. So this is the difference between your compiler and interpreter. It will basically translate one statement and then run it, then it will basically convert, that is your interpreter, it will basically translate one statement and then run it, then next statement and run it, and on the way if they find any error in the program, so the execution will hold or it will just bypass the statement and then proceed to the next statement. So these are, but on the other hand, the compiler, this one, the compiler will check that program is written correctly, then only it will produce the machine level code, or the compiler can work on one at a go, or complete program should be at time completed to machine level code. This is a concept that is being used. So for the programming, different programming language is concerned, I mention these things because you will be able to understand that how it basically make a sense, so that the comparable to other programming languages. Now we can see the third generation of programming languages. These are provided. First, we studied the first generation of programming language. In fact, the machine level programming, it is the first generation of programming language. Later on, the second generation programming language is basically with assembly language programming. Those are basically suitable for microprocessor level programming. And then the next level programming is called the third generation of programming languages. There are different programming languages like C, Java, C++, Python, JavaScript, that is Rust, and Fortran or Golang. All these are basically belongs to this third generation programming languages. Now, the third generation programming languages needs a skill from the programmer, that how to solve a problem. Now recently there is another high level programming language is called the fourth generation programming, popularly called as 4GL, and this basically does not require so much programming effort from the user or the programmer, so to tell what to do. So the third generation language, if it is how to do, then the fourth generation language is what to do. An example of fourth generation language is SQL, that is structured query language, that we use to delete the database, update the database, or database related tasks. So in this course, we will also use 4GL, that means Java can interact from 3GL flavor to 4GL flavors by using the various connectivity features. So there are different programming languages paradigm, of course. Java belongs to third generation programming language. Now let us see what are the principles that the different high level programming languages follows. So these are the high level programming principles. Now whatever the principles are, they can be broadly classified into two broad categories. One is called the function oriented programming, and the another one is called the object oriented programming. In the concept of function oriented programming, entire program is decomposed into large small set of small functions. These are this is our whole function, and it is divided into small functions, or we can say modules. So in this program, I can see that we see that there are last basically functions. So these are different functions. So you can decompose the entire program into a small set of last set of functions. So that means it is fragmented, and all these functions basically shared a data which are common to all functions. So this is called the global data. So this is a global data, and many functions can use this data. Here, these are many functions, and this is where we can say the global data. and then after processing they can store the result into the global data. So it is the idea about that there is a set of functions and all functions can share some data which is stored in a common pool. Now this is the concept of function oriented programming, that is mean writing the program as a function. For example, C programming language is based on this concept. On the other hand, there is another concept that is called the object-oriented programming, which is the topic also related to Java programming, because we can say Java is also an object-oriented programming language. Here the program is concept in the form of a set of objects. So as an example, here we can see these are one object. This is one object. This is another object. This is one object. This is another object. So writing a program is nothing but writing a set of objects, whereas in terms of functional programming we have to write a set of functions. Here we have to write a set of objects. And here you can see one interesting difference is that there is no global database as it was there in function oriented programming. So there is no global database. As we can see, in function oriented programming there is a global database which is shared by different modules or sub functions. Then whatever the data the program required, all this data will be used or stored within that object. This is your database. We can say if this is your database, this is your database, this is your database, and it is stored in your object. So they are basically data are distributed among the different objects and then is a localized. So that is fine. You data, the objects are there, and the programming task is basically carried out by communicating among the different objects. If we want to solve a problem, then the object will communicate to other object, and by this communication the program can be solved. This is the way of communication. Here communication is taking place between these objects. So there is now obviously it is interesting to learn then how this object communication help us to solve our problem. Now in this slide we can see the difference between function oriented programming versus object oriented programming. So this is the two concept, the function oriented programming and the object oriented programming. This is a function oriented programming and this is the object oriented programming. And obviously there are many, good points and bad points of the both programming. I have listed a brief summary about the different facilities that the functionality programming and the object oriented programming provide. So first of all, program that is organized in function oriented programming by means of function. Here there are the functions, and in object oriented programming by means of object, that is program organization. Next, importance. Here importance is given where importance, so importance is not given to data but to function. In function oriented programming, importance is given not to data but to function, and in object oriented programming, importance is given to objects. Function oriented programming in fact follows the approach is called the top down approach, and the approach followed by the object oriented programming is bottom up approach. And there are many others such that the function oriented programming can do, whereas the object oriented programming cannot do. We can say the access specifiers they does not provide any access specifier. Function oriented programming does not provide any access specifier, whereas the object oriented programming provide access specifier, namely public, private, protected, and these are the access specifiers. requires. Next, here we can see the data moving. So here in function-oriented programming, data can move freely from function to function in the program. Okay, and in object-oriented program, object can move and communicate with each other. Next is maintainability. To add new data and function is not easy in function-oriented programming. But in object-oriented programming, provide an easy way to add new data and function. Next, data access. In function-oriented programming, function uses global data for sharing that can be accessed freely from function to function in the system. In object-oriented programming, object uses local data and can be accessed in a crossed manner in a controlled manner. Next, the concept of data hiding. In function-oriented programming, no data hiding is possible, hence security is not possible. It is a major issue, which is covered by your object-oriented programming by providing providing data hiding. Hence, secured programming is possible in programming language. Next, we can see the overloading. Polymorphism is not possible. Here, operator overloading or polymorphism is not possible in object function-oriented programming, but polymorphism is possible in your object-oriented programming. Examples of function-oriented programming is C, Visual Basic, Fortran, and Pascal. And example of object-oriented programming is C++, Java, VB.NET, C Sharp, .NET, etc. So these all these things we will discuss in detail while will discuss about the programming, and you will be able to learn that time only. And then I will discuss about what is the peculiarity of the speciality that the Java programming has, and it is called the Java programming modeling or the Java programming paradigms. Now we will see the Java programming paradigms. So there are mainly four Java programming paradigms. These are the paradigms for any object-oriented program concept actually. So the four paradigms are encapsulation, inheritance, information hiding, and the polymorphism. So quickly learn about, although you will learn all these things in details while we discuss these topics. Today, I just want to give an overview of the four different paradigms one by one. So first of all is the encapsulation. This is encapsulation in Java. As I already told that the object-oriented programming based on the concept of object, that means we had to develop the objects. And so how the objects can be developed? So object is basically developed by means of defining classes. We can say class is a framework for an object. And then defining a class concept in object-oriented programming is called encapsulation. So here it is called encapsulation because in a class we have to encapsulate two things, both the data as well as how to manipulate that data. That is called the methods. It is just like a function. Function basically know how to manipulate data. So both data and the function as punch together and then put it into a class, and this class basically is responsible for building object, and this concept is called encapsulation in Java. Or if we can see, the definition of encapsulation in Java is a process of wrapping code and data together into a single unit. For example, a capsule which is mixed of several medicines. This is provided because to take away from the internal view what is happening internally in the system. As we can see, we can swallow the capsule. Capsule is provided so that we can just forget or we cannot feel the bitter part or the sour part of the capsule. When it is digested in our stomach, we can easily escape ourselves from the sour or the bitter part of the medicine which is kept in the capsule. Now I can give you example so that you can understand about the encapsulation. Say book is basically a set of objects. That means the book, all books belongs to a particular class, and then the books has the different data to define it. This is the data for a book, such as title, who is the author of the book, the accession number, cost, borrower, date of issue, like this one, and the different methods that is required in order to process a book. I like issue, whether if it is late, written, then fine, and open a book, close a book, whatever it is there. These are the methods. Now all these methods are there to define a class of what is called the book. Now another example, say borrower. Borrower is also a set of objects. They are the different leaders actually, and the borrower has the different fields or the data actually. They are called the member elements, like name. This is the name, roll number, address, marks, and then they can borrow any books. What about the books they borrow? It is basically name of those books. Now other than these data, they are also have some methods like request. That mean with this method they can send a request up to book so that this book should be suited to him, renew a book, enroll from the library, and if you want to exit from the library, so that exit method also exists there. So these are the different methods are there, and now all these data and methods basically defined a class here. For example, class book and the class borrower, and all these methods and their member elements, the data basically put together and define a class. For example, the classes as an encapsulation, as well as the borrower crosses an encapsulation. So there are both book and borrower, both are the encapsulation classes. So here we can see the books and the borrower, which are classes or the encapsulations, which has all the members and data elements will be defined in it. Once the classes are developed, we can create a number of objects and then they can communicate it. For example, if book can send a message that you have already issued a book which is already not returned within a billing, it so you have to impose fine like this only. So this basically objects can send the message to different object, and then according the task we can carry it out. Now we can see the another feature or concept of Java, that is called the inheritance in Java. The concept of inheritance is basically, if you have a class, how you can derive another class from that class. We can from existing class, how can we build another classes? Inheritance in Java is a mechanism in which one object acquires all the properties and behaviors of a. So inheritance in Java is a mechanism in which one object acquires all the properties and behaviors of a parent object. It is an important part of object-oriented programming. Here, the parent class is also called as the base class or the superclass, and the child class is also known as the subclass and the derived class. So this concept is basically the concept of inheritance. Here we are giving the example of an inheritance Here, a book is already defined a class. A book is already defined a class. This is a book. But the thing is that a book has many categories. For example, a book can be of textbook type if it is a textbook, when in addition to all the common data and method that is there in the book, it may have some features. So those extra features, if we include in addition to the previous features, then it is called the inheritance. We have a book and it has the features title, author, access number, cost, borrower, date of issue. We have studied these features and methods of it: issue, find, return, open, and book. And the textbook, which is also a book, has its own features like wise textbook. We can also inherit to another category of book is called the reference. Here reference book is also, we can say, the textbook and have own date of purchase, version, department, and methods add and remove. This means that from the book class, which is the base class, we can develop few more subclasses called the derived class. So we can say that textbook and the reference book are the derived classes of the parent class, that is book, and have their own methods and features. The methods like add, remove for textbook, and display, close, open, copy for a reference book. With these features, it also inherits the features of the his parent class, that is book. These features are or methods are issue, find, return, open, and close. And this way, the inheritance is basically help us to build from one class to another class and the very last software. Now we come to the discussion about the information hiding. Now we can discuss about the information hiding. Information hiding, the concept is that how we can make some methods or data that it should not be easily accessible to anybody. So there are many concepts of information hiding is known, and they are basically hide some data or method from the public accessible or have the restricted access. Here we can see in the figure the public or freely available part is your title and author name. Protected part is your account number, as we have already our account number in banks are protected, and the private part is cost, which is not known to anybody. So the public method is issues and returns for a book, and protected is method is resave. Resave is a protected method, and the private method is open and close. Now we can see the another feature of the Java, which is the polymorphism. Okay, in object-oriented programming, polymorphism refers to a programming language ability to process objects depending on their class. Or polymorphism, we can also say one name and multiple forms. This concept is called the polymorphism. It is a very important concept. Here the concept is that with the same name, but it can execute different operations, so that it is very simple and user friendly. But it will do this, its act according to its own what is called the context. We can understand this by assuming the example. For example, if you use a print one operation, so definitely printing an image and printing a document should not use the same operation. Rather, it will use the different way to print different way, different task, different operation to print actually. So to a user, print method will appear that printing an image or printing a document, but inside it's the different story should be there. So the method is name is only print, and its use is either we have to print an image or document. Similar, an add operation can be used for addition of a number, and the same add operation can be used for the addition of the two strings. That is called the concatenation of two strings. Now we can see then another example of the polymorphism. Uh, Concept of polymorphism, another example. If we write say add x and y, this one add x and y, this one add x and y, So add is a method. This is basically add two numbers. Similarly, the same add method also we can define it in a polymorphic way so that it can concatenate two strings. That is called merge two strings. This one, merge two strings. Likewise, add image and document we can use. This add image and document. But the operation will be different. But if these operation will basically print an image, paste an image to a document. Similarly, at the same method in a polymorphic way can be used to merge two documents. Add is also used for merging two documents. That is merge two documents. So here we can see the add methods has a different polymorphism. The name is same but they are arguments, and that is called the input is different and their function is different, their task is different, but their name is same. This is concept of polymorphism. Now we are discussing the features of Java programming. Features of Java programming. Java programming can do a lot for us. What about the task that Java programming can support a programmer can be divided into three broad categories. The first category is Java core programming. Using Java programming, we can develop many softwares. Those are basically very large softwares, maybe system software or maybe application software. So Java core is basically useful for developing system software as well as application software, and to do these things, the multi-threading, the interfaces, the input output handling, Java beans, packages, exception handling, all that the key issues are to be planned for that. So if you learn all these concepts, then we are fit for writing application software using Java core concept. Next is the Java applet. As you know, different operating system give you, even the mobile also, they give you a lot of what is called as the user interface. It is called the graphical user interface or interface with speech interface with registers, touch, whatever it is there now. So Java applet programming is basically suitable for developing such kind of interface, and here we use Java multimedia, JavaScript, and the Windows toolkit and Java Swing. So these are the basic concepts that we have to learn before using to develop our own system and user interface in the form of GUI like. Then the third part is the most advanced part of Java programming. Here basically the Java can be used for internet programming, the Java internet. As a task of internet programming, we can do networking, developing different network protocols for communication. Distributed programming, this is basically the client server model, distributed programming, so that the program can be run distributed across the different machines, remotely distributed throughout the different geographically distributed space. And then the database connectivity, that means Java can be used to connect any database which is stored in a server database. So from your program you can pass some comments to, so that comment will remotely go to the server which is concerned connected through the net, and then you will be able to access the data in the remote server, or you can load some data into their server. So it is called the JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. And the Java JSP, also scripting for programming. This is for developing the browser program, different web pages that can be developed using JSP. Also we use nowadays the JavaScript. This is the JavaScript. However, JavaScript is totally different and needs a different what is called the study and learning other than the Java programming. JavaScript is basically maintained by the Netscape nowadays, and just is we have few things about it. Now, right, so we have not introduction about the basic concept of Java programming. Then it is very interesting to learn about how the Java can be used to develop the programs to that it can runs on any operating system. So this is a questions to think, can a software be developed in Java so that it runs in any OS, any machine? And also very interesting to learn how a browser like say Internet Explorer, the Mozilla, the Chrome, all these things can work in our mobile or in our computer. So all these things we will discuss in our next class. So just think about these questions. Can a software be developed in Java so that it run in any OS, any machine? And second question is, how a browser like Mozilla, Google Chrome, Safari work in your mobile or computer? So this is all about this lecture. Very thankful to all viewers who are viewing this lecture. Next we come with the important topics of Java which are most important. Thank you very much. Stay healthy.